we've got an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader coming up this weekend in Phoenix.
Yes, and we have an IndyCar driver in Pato O'Ward who is not as excited about it as we all are.
Yeah. For those who didn't see, Pato O'Ward, last season's IndyCar runner-up, made some headlines in the season opener when he told the media he was, quote, tired of IndyCar being treated like a support race. He was referring to IndyCar sharing the weekend schedule in St. Pete with the Craftsman Truck Series and looking to this weekend's IndyCar and NASCAR doubleheader in Phoenix. He expanded that IndyCar shouldn't become, in his words, a sideshow. And look, I love Pato. I love that he's honest and he speaks from the heart. And while I know exactly where he's coming from, I think there's a bigger picture to look at here. First of all, you can count on one hand the number of times that NASCAR and IndyCar have shared a track this decade. And before 2020, NASCAR and IndyCar hadn't shared a track weekend since 1959. Pato himself admitted that the doubleheader weekends were, quote, great for fans, but not for us. And whether he meant as drivers or as the championship itself, I'm not entirely sure. But that statement itself lies at the very heart of why IndyCar and NASCAR doubleheaders are a great idea. Because it shouldn't be about anyone other than the fans. It has to be about what's right for them and how the championship can maximize welcoming new fans to a racing product that we all adore. And the best way to do that is to simply get on with what IndyCar does best, putting on a show, the fastest racing on earth. Time was, not so long ago, that for some inexplicable reason, we as fans of racing got split into our own little territories, which we defended to the hilt. NASCAR versus IndyCar, Formula One versus everyone. And what benefit did it bring to anyone? Zero. We're race fans, pure and simple. Our appreciation of the daring and skill of race drivers should never have become so fiercely divided. With national and international recognition of motorsport and racing drivers on the up, now more than at any time in the last few generations is a moment to come together, to applaud racing and racers of all championships and at all levels. And let's be honest here, when IndyCar and NASCAR share a weekend, NASCAR will be the headline act because right now it is more popular. The figures don't lie. But can they and will they change? Well, in just the first year of Fox's deal to broadcast IndyCar, the championship matched Formula One for average race viewership in the United States. IndyCar is on the rise, but it isn't number one yet. And you know what? That's okay, because being the support act isn't a bad thing. The first concert I ever attended was Radiohead at Wembley Arena in London. It was 1997, I was 16 years old, and that night changed my life and forever shifted my musical passions. But that change didn't come from the headline act. It came from the support act, DJ Shadow. That same year, Oasis went on a world tour. They'd already written and recorded some of their greatest songs by then. They were at the height of their tabloid-baiting, bombastic arrogance. But in 1997, they weren't the headliners. 29 years ago, they toured the world as the support act for U2. You see, there's always a bigger fish. But the band used the tour to get seen by an even bigger audience than the one who'd made them stars at home. They recognized the opportunity and they seized the moment. Because you know what you're expecting with the headliner. The support act has the opportunity to delight, to surprise, and to entrench themselves so deeply in your subconscious that you can't stop thinking about them. Had I not been in St. Pete at the weekend, I, like many fans at the track, might never have watched a Craftsman Truck Series race. But I did, and it won't be my last because I loved it. And I'd wager the same will be true for fans of both IndyCar and NASCAR in Phoenix. It marks an opportunity for IndyCar fans to fall in love with NASCAR and for NASCAR fans to fall in love with IndyCar. For race fans in both camps to gain a new understanding and a new respect for championships which they might never have watched or always believed that they shouldn't. Want people to remember you? Play the best damn gig of your life. IndyCar simply has to do what IndyCar does best, and that's the fastest racing on earth. That's how you make fans, and that's how IndyCar becomes the headliner. Kevin, I know the whole point of this show is to bring fans together.
100%.
And I think that's what we're going to have in Phoenix this weekend.
And you know, I hate that he said it. And I look at spending time in Europe and what they think of American motorsports and how they view American motorsports as a little bit of what's ingrained in Pato and what he wanted to accomplish with his path in racing. And I think that, being in America, and IndyCar at one time was more popular than NASCAR. They had the split. Everything went the way that it did, and all of a sudden NASCAR took over as we got into the late 90s, early 2000s, and it has been that way for a long time. But I'm with you, and I think your dialogue there was really well said in relating it to a concert and fans and getting recognized, right? And I think that when you look at Pato in this country, he's not as popular as Scotty and even Palou. I mean, as some of the American drivers like Joseph Newgarden and things like that. And I think it's very interesting to see where the fans are, because when I look at the television ratings for NASCAR, Indianapolis is always way up on our list. We have I would say that the most educated race fans in our country that love sprint car racing. They love midgets. They love NASCAR. They love IndyCar.
Yeah.
They love to race.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we want. And that's why this show is important to racing, but that's why this weekend is important to American motorsports.
That's a really perfect way of putting it. It's very important to American motorsports. And that's, I get, look, it's the opening weekend, and we all sometimes say things that we don't mean, or we don't explain it the right way or whatever. But when Pato said, it's great for the fans, but there should never be a but after that. If it's great for the fans, it's great for the sport. Full stop.
Agreed.
That's literally as simple as it gets. And I don't think there should ever be another consideration after that fact. But we are in this odd place, and I've always felt it throughout my career, that every racing championship seems to have a little chip on its shoulder about another racing championship somewhere, because it was seen as an existential threat at some point to the commercial viability or the commercial success of their championship. But we're in this really great period now for racing where the rising tide lifts all ships. It's a phrase that's used so much, but I think it's so true. Formula One's done a brilliant job of promoting themselves and building their publicity. And that has sort of flooded over to other sports, to NASCAR, to IndyCar, and we should all ride this thing. I think we should ride it all together. There shouldn't be a war. You should watch everything if you're a race fan. You can start your Sunday with the F1, follow it up with the IndyCar, finish it with the NASCAR. It was great this weekend being able to watch the truck series on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, we had our warm-up show straight into the Indy Next race, straight into the IndyCar race, straight into Cup, all on Fox. It was mega. It was such a great day of racing.
And that's what you want, and that's what a real race fan wants. And those are the people that will watch this show, and those are the people that will tune in over the weekend. But it is you see Dario and Hinch in the truck race this weekend, really leaning into the other side, wanting to understand it. And I would say that the majority of the drivers in that IndyCar and NASCAR garage are intrigued by each other and want to see what's on the other side of the fence and want to understand what the technology is, what's good, what's bad, because they are so drastically different. They're just two totally separate disciplines.
And the fans as well. One of the things in St. Pete was you got a lot of fans asking about, how does stage racing work?
Yeah.
Because we don't have stage racing in IndyCar.
Yeah.
So it was a new thing for them. If they're not used to watching Cup, they were like, well, how does this work? And then it was explained to them, and they're like, okay, this is cool. And then they were really engaged and really enjoyed it. And it was great to see that sort of that transition of a fan base who were there to see IndyCar. And then you had the truck series, which was the support card, and they loved it. And, I hope that that's the same for IndyCar. Apparently, ticket sales for Saturday in Phoenix are through the roof.
Yeah.
So if you've got your two fan bases there, IndyCar and NASCAR, enjoying it all together, what a perfect thing.
Well, and having Roger Penske and NASCAR and Fox and everybody be able to put this all together and be able to coexist, surely there's something we can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
In what you do good and what you do bad, and have an open mind. It's just like we talked with Tyler Reddick's team.
Yep.
Have the hard conversations. Look yourself in the mirror and say, that was great, this was better, this was worse, and take the positives from each side and make it better, because you can always get better.
Yeah. And if NASCAR is as popular as it is, why? right? What's NASCAR done differently? How has it got the market share that it has? How has it got the viewership that it has? What can we learn from that? And at the same time, there may be elements from IndyCar that NASCAR will look at and say, oh, I like the way they do that.
Right.
We've never thought about it that way. And that's what life is. You learn from experience.
And I had one thing that you posted this weekend that I found really intriguing, and I wanted to ask you about, was the point system in IndyCar, because I saw you put the manufacturers, the team breakdown of points. Is that something that you think could be worked on, or are you just intrigued by it?
That's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
I could do an opinion piece on that one week, I think.
I was intrigued by your post and the points by the team.
Yeah, I'd love to see a legitimate teams championship in IndyCar.
Yeah.
Now, some teams in IndyCar have 2 cars, some have 3 cars, but they're teams in name only, because each of the crews is separate and individual,
right.
And you don't have a team's championship as you do in many other forms of motorsport. And I'd love to see a way where you took the best 2 results from each team over the weekend. So teams with 2 cars, naturally both cars score, but on each weekend, the best 2 results count. Not the best 2 drivers in the championship, best 2 results on each weekend, and get a team's championship out of it. Because they're entering 3-4 cars for the Indy 500.
But it was intriguing, so. and I knew you're always you seem to be very wise in the things that you throw out there to create that conversation, and that one intrigued me.
Thank you. People rarely say that to me, so I will take that. Jimmie Johnson will have in-car cameras across Speed on Fox social channels for the Mint 400s. I'm so proud that within a week of this thing going to air, we're carrying the Mint 400 and we're going to be on board with Jimmie Johnson.
Well, I just hope he doesn't fall asleep. That's the main thing. We just don't need Jimmie Johnson to fall asleep again in an off-road race like he did in the Baja 1000. So having Speed on board to stream this race and be able to be a part of Jimmie's run in the Mint 400 is something that I'm going to be watching, at least paying attention to in between everything that we have going on this weekend. But it's definitely a fun event, and Jimmie Johnson leading the way, 7-time NASCAR champ. So definitely be a lot of eyeballs.
And the great thing is, if you want to watch it, not just highlights and clips on social media, you can watch the whole thing by going to Speed on Fox's channel on YouTube. It's all going to be there live. The whole thing, start to finish. So we'll have that up over the weekend.
Pretty cool.
Hope you will too.